All right? Not quite as happy as it was last Monday, is it? Stephen Howson, Full-Time Devils. This is the full-time review. We're going to dissect what the hell happened this weekend with Manchester United. And, yeah, I guess we have to do it. It's going to be a busy week this week. Obviously, we've got Bournemouth midweek, and then we've got an FA Cup semi-final. And what's absolutely crazy is I expect us to win a semi-final. Almost like I expected us to win yesterday. 101 times out of 100. It's going to come back about me in the ass, isn't it? That was a dire performance. There's a few things that I want to talk about, and there's a few things that we're going to get into. We've got Jose's embargoed press conference, so stick around for that. We've got the fan cams, which are great this week. We've got United on YouTube with Raph, and we've got you guys in the comments as well talking to us. So get your good questions in. Don't just be like, transfers, who we're going to buy, and none of that nonsense. Give some good, proper, well thought out questions, some good analysis, and we'll read the best ones out. And we'll have a good chat about what the hell's happened this weekend and what it means for us going forward. So the key things that I want to talk about is Jose, because his press conference wasn't great again after we've lost. Tony Marshall, what's going on? And the third one that we are talking about is Alexis Sanchez. So those three things, let's get your comments in about those. You can go off topic as well if you want, and we can figure out where that comment fits in with everything. Like I said, we've got the fan cams and we've got United on YouTube. So let's get into it. United lost yesterday at home to the worst team in the league. They've won 3 matches this season. Are you serious? Are you actually serious? We turn up against Liverpool, we lose to Sevilla. We turn up against City. Is it a concentration thing? Is it a mentality thing? That starting 11 yesterday, bang on. It was fine to beat bottom of the league at home. I mean, you should have been able to throw in a fat baby and a dead dog yesterday in that starting 11 and still been able to get 3 points. It was a shocking performance from United. It was absolutely devoid of inspiration and anything, and I see a lot of people blaming the manager for that, and I see a lot of people blaming the players for that. It probably lies somewhere in the middle. The manager has to motivate the players, that's his job. But the players have to motivate themselves. Professional footballers playing for Manchester United in front of 75,000 people have to be able to turn up and beat bottom of the league. Fortress Old Trafford is the one thing that you expect under Jose Mourinho as a manager. Philip in a comment says, Howson, do you think United are missing a proper leader? For me, that is the main problem. It's one of the problems, absolutely. It's absolutely one of the problems that United don't have real leaders. We saw leadership against City. Paul Pogba especially stood up and was a leader against City. Wasn't there this week. Wasn't there. Am I the only one who wouldn't buy in the summer? Says Ethan. I do think we need to buy, but I don't think the transfer market isn't the answer. I know a lot of people get really excited for the transfer market, and it is interesting and it is exciting. I get giddy when we sign players. But football's about what happens in between the transfer windows. Football's what happens on the grass for 90 minutes. It's not about signing players. I play Footy Manager, I play FIFA. That is the best part of that game, innit? Sometimes is scouting and buying the players and stuff like that. But real football is the training ground and the football pitches. And yesterday, if we're just talking about yesterday's match and this season, it hasn't been about transfers. It's been about performances. Lack of performances generally. Was the starting 11 good enough to beat Sevilla? You're damn right it was. Was it good enough to beat West Brom? You're damn right it was. We've beaten every single side in the top 6 this season. We've beaten Arsenal, we've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten Chelsea, we've beaten Tottenham, and we've beaten the champions Manchester City at their home ground. We are good enough to beat every team in this league. What's happened is we've not been able to convert that into consistent performances. I think all of us would have been fine with how perceivingly boring some of the performances have been if we'd have been grinding out results and winning titles. No one would have had a problem with that. Jose Mourinho's job is to get United being successful immediately. That's his first job. His secondary job, I think, then is to make it attractive. But the first job is to be successful, is to be winning games. That little period in December where we threw loads of points away, that didn't help us. Losing to the likes of Newcastle and Huddersfield, it didn't help us. You know, you expect to drop points against the likes of Spurs. You expect to drop points maybe at Liverpool away. But it wasn't those performances that have cost us the title, that have cost us a good season. It's been performances like West Brom. It's been performances like Sevilla. Winnable games that we failed to capitalise on. And Alexis Sanchez, one of the points that I wanted to talk about today, is a part of that reason. Now, when a world-class player comes available, you buy them. It's as simple as that. You buy them. But there was a position in this team that we needed someone to fit in. And Alexis Sanchez could have fit in that position, which is the wide right. And he's not been played there. He's come into a place where we had two players vying for position and both was in brilliant form. We didn't know who was going to play from one week to the next, but one of them would start, one of them would be on the bench, and then one of them would come off and the other would score. Like, Martial and Rashford was absolutely gunning for it. They was both having great seasons. Now all you see is rumours that Martial's going, which I think have got some weight behind them, and all you see is talk saying Rashford should go, which is nonsense, and Rashford isn't going to go. But we upset the balance in the team. We upset the balance with Paul Pogba by bringing Sanchez in, because Sanchez essentially occupies that position, and he took away a starting place excuse me, from Martial and Rashford. We shot ourselves in the foot with signing Sanchez. That's not to say that he's at fault, he's to blame, or his performances haven't been good enough. The balance of the team was thrown off. We can still fix it. I think you can still accommodate all of those players in this side, but I reckon in the summer you're going to see some of them go. Who do you lot think is going to go? Because I think Juan Mata could go, I think Tony Marshall could go, and I think you thin out a little bit that first forward lineup, and then you've got players who can play on a regular basis. Red Devil says, this is what happens when your players are Instagram models over footballers. Mate, that is utter bollocks. There's nothing that these players are doing that they can't go and post some things on Instagram. All of the old school footballers that are now pundits used to go on the piss for 24 hours, 48 hours in the middle of the week. Is that better preparation than what? How long does it take to throw something up on Instagram? It takes 3 seconds. Do you know how much of footballers' lives is sat around recovering, doing absolutely nothing? Instagram's probably good for them mentally. I am not having the fact that Instagram's a negative thing in terms of football player performance. I'm not having that whatsoever. Evil Befall says, Mourinho is known for not playing players in the right spot. His park the bus tactics suck. Listen, we park the bus in some of the bigger games when it's required. We didn't park the bus against West Brom. We attacked for the whole game and wasn't good enough. There's a massive difference between what you go for and what you get. You need to understand the difference between the two. John Louis says, lacking real leaders, too many prima donnas and not enough hard workers. I think we agree on that one. No attacking structure in place to all back on, and lack of maturity equals lack of inconsistency. Consistency needed, says Jag. There were points in the game where the players were standing a yard or two from one another, too static. Yeah, lack of movement. And I think that's why he brought Rashford and Lingard on, and Tony Marshall, because they always bring movement. Jesse Lingard literally means movement. No one is a bigger model than Ronaldo, says Brian. Absolutely right. Ronaldo's taking pictures of himself in his underpants and posting them all over the place on Instagram. He's doing it. It's not Instagram that's the problem at all. You need to stop reading trash newspapers and listening to idiots like Graham Souness, because their perception of what a modern footballer is incorrect. They were the sort of players that would go on the piss for 2 days, disappear for 2 days. You tell me what's better preparation, getting your hair cut and putting it on Instagram, or literally going on the beer for 2 days. Wingbacks needed to start putting crosses in, says Himmett. Yeah, I agree on that one. I'm Villa, but don't want to get hate. But Axel Tuanzebe hasn't set the world alight for us, don't get me wrong. We've been good enough here and there, and show great versatility. I don't think you've played him much at centre-half, have you? You've only played him at right-back. The guy's not a right-back. He's not looked good as a right-back when he's played in the United youth teams. He's a natural-born centre-half. Lingard literally means crap. It's not true, Calamity Jones. Why are we so old at right-back and left-back? Don't know. We should have took them on down the wings. We went through the centre too much. All of our players are inverted. All of our players are inverted. We don't have any natural width in the team. Antonio Valencia, his number one move is a 45-degree pass back inside. When was the last time you saw Antonio Valencia stand that defender up and bang a cross in? I think it was the 2011 season when he did it all the time and it worked. Stand him up, bang a cross in. Antonio Valencia, mint, absolutely fantastic. Ashley Young doesn't have a left foot. And you're playing him left back and expect him to get to the byline. He checks inside. So both of those players, the first ball that they're playing, their number one ball is to come inside. You play Sanchez on the left, he likes to come inside. You play Mata on the right, he likes to go on the left. You play Marshall on the left, he likes to come inside. You play Rashford on the left, he likes to come inside. There's no natural width whatsoever in the team. Overlap's a dirty word for United at the moment. because I love Juan Mata. I think he's a brilliant footballer. But one of the tendencies that you get with Mata is him and Sanchez sort of, they unlock doors and they're very good at what they do. But without the natural width that you get, and I think that's some of the reasons that you see Lukaku dropping off over to the right-hand side sometimes, is because Mata and Sanchez, they occupy the same sort of space. They interchange with each other very well, and the football that they play, the one-touch stuff between them is great. But Mata coming in from that right-hand side means that the back four of the opposition team can just deal with them. We can just be 20 metres apart, we can be nice and constricted, we can be nice and tight, we can leave no gaps. The reason Manchester City get away with attacking the way they do, because it's pretty boring in terms of what City do, and they just recycle in possession constantly. But they keep a back four guessing because the wingers stay wide on both sides, which means that you have to put fullbacks out close to them, otherwise they're going to come round the back of you, which means the centre-halves have to go spread out a little bit and be closer to those fullbacks. They create space by having width. When we come narrow and we all go over to the left-hand side, it's very easy for the back four that we're playing against just to close it in, close it in, close it in, close it in, and now there's no space. This happens all the time with Manchester United. You don't need to be a genius to work out the reasons why United always look like there's no space in the middle of the pitch. Around that D, Lukaku's got like 4 or 5 men round him sometimes because the midfield collapses onto the back four comes nice and tight, and there's just too many men in the box. It was at one point yesterday, there was 6 United players in the box and there was 8 West Brom players in the box. Lionel Messi can't get through that. Righty, should we see what the gaffer's had to say in his embargoed press conference? Because there's definitely a lot to talk about this on the back end of it. Let's see what Jose had to say.
Will you be rotating in that game ahead of the Cup semi-final on Saturday, or is it not?
Rotating is not the right word. If I play a player against Bournemouth and the player is phenomenal, he plays the semi-final. So he's not rotating, because rotating looks like a player that plays against Bournemouth is to give a rest to somebody that is going to play against Spurs in the semi-final. So the word is not rotation. The word is an opportunity for some people to play and to try to get a place in the team for Spurs. And some of the guys that played today, they don't have a place in that team. They don't have a place in that team.
Do you feel you're getting enough, Jose, out of your the blend of youth and experience in this team? But do you feel you're getting enough out of the experienced, established players at the moment, players that should be performing at a high level, who have experience behind them?
But consistency has nothing to do with age. It has to do with personality. It has to do with the way you live for football. What is your priority in your life? Your ambitions has not to do with age. I met players with 30 years old, not consistent at all, and I found boys of 18, 19, 20, real men, real pros. So it's not about the age.
So the answer before, did you say that there are players that play today that won't play in the semi-final? And if that's what you said, is that purely because of how they play today?
Yeah.
So they play themselves out of
No, so what is the criteria for a manager to choose a team? I only know one criteria: is the way you play. It's the way you play. It's the only way I can select players. You know? Or do you want me to go for the price they cost, or their salary, or their beautiful face, or the only way is to go with performance.
Pogba came off after half an hour left. I mean, after his heroics in the derby, I guess he's a player that you're disappointed with, that he wasn't able to sustain that level in this match.
It was not just him. It was not just him. And he had a yellow card, so he was in a more difficult position than others. And playing with only 2 midfield players, you cannot play with one player in risk of not being able to make a fall. You can do it if your team is not losing the ball, but our team was losing the ball so easy with the complication. Everything was complicated, so we were losing lots of balls. So by losing lots of balls with turnings and flicks and tricks, the midfield players and the central defenders, they are in risk of one touch, one late challenge, and they are out. So Paul was out because of the yellow card, because in terms of the way he played, he was not worse than some others that were on the pitch for 90 minutes.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
So that was Jose's embargoed presser. He did it obviously immediately after the match against West Brom. He won't be doing another one before Bournemouth. That was his Bournemouth press conference. So that was what Jose had to say about that. Now he talks about opportunity for players to cement a place and to get into the team for the semi-final. And he's saying he won't be rotating ahead of the Bournemouth game, because he sees this as the opportunity for people to make their selection for the Tottenham game. But he's essentially played first choice 11s versus City and versus West Brom. So I'm not sure where the players who don't have a place in that team. He said some of the players who played in that team don't have a place in that team, meaning the Tottenham game. Who's he talking about there? Pogba? Who played in that game and who played against City? That's not going to play in the semi-final. I really find that one a little bit baffling. He also talks about sometimes age doesn't matter, and he's seen boys of 18 and 20 who are real men. It's not about 30-year-olds. It's not about that. He says, I pick players based on the way they play, not on their salary and their price. Again, is he talking about Pogba there? He does go to mention Pogba went off early because of the yellow card, which maybe pours a bit of water on the thought that it could have been Pogba getting hooked was one of the reasons. And who was he on about with the tricks and flicks? Didn't really see anyone doing tricks and flicks that didn't pull off, unless he's talking about Marshall, who'd only just put on. A weird press conference. Now, that was the embargoed section, which is the pre-match one for Bournemouth. But in the one post-match, when he's talking about the game against West Brom, he goes on and says things like, I've won 8 championships, I've been here before, I've been successful. And you think, this is starting to grate now, mate. After the Sevilla game, you come out with one of the worst press conferences ever, which was strike 1 for me. Yesterday wasn't quite strike 2, but it was annoying. And you think, there's a time and a place. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know what he's trying to do with his press conference. Is he trying to take on all the heat? Because we heard that he went into the dressing room after that Sevilla game and said, I've just took one for the team there. You lot need to go and sort it out. I don't know what he's doing in his press conferences, but he's not helping his relationship with United fans, which is almost non-existent anyway. Let's see what you guys are saying. Billy says, who is the manager? Who selects the team? Who selects the system? Yes, it's Jose. He just sit there and moan to himself. He is, but are you saying that you can't pick that starting 11 and that starting 11 is not good enough to go win the games? If Jose is the man responsible for all of that, then he's the man responsible for beating Liverpool, for beating Chelsea and for beating Manchester City. You can't say he's responsible for only the bad stuff and not the good stuff. It doesn't work like that. It's either some of him and some of the players, or it's not. Pogba or Sanchez, says Aquilas. I don't think it needs to be one or the other. I think you can have both. Too many ups and downs this season, says Ian Turlington. He's scapegoating players again, says Mr. ASG. It's me. It is me. That's really frustrating about Jose. Let's remember what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about Jose, Sanchez, Marshall. What's going on with those players? What's the solution to having Sanchez? Can you have Sanchez, Mata and Pogba in the same team? Do we need someone that's a little bit more direct? Do you need a Jesse Lingard or a Rashford or a Marshall? Someone who's going to dribble with the ball? Those are players that like to knock it around a little bit, isn't there? Do we need someone different? Do we need a different style of player? Is that why he wanted Perisic? Is that why Gareth Bale's being linked? Is that why some of these players are being linked because they offer something different? If someone else is coming in, especially in that forward three, someone's got to go. At least someone's got to go. Might be a couple that need to go. When will we start being consistent? Well, here's the thing. We're not consistent, but we are second. What sort of indictment on Arsenal and Chelsea and Tottenham and Liverpool is that? Tottenham and Liverpool have spent all season getting praised left, right and centre. They're below us. Liverpool couldn't beat us all season. We beat Spurs earlier, they beat us at Wembley. We are getting untreated fairly in the press. Jose doesn't help himself with the way he doesn't bring the fans on side. Morgan says it was Smart to bring Pogba off. If he gave away another silly foul, he would have been at a disadvantage. Yeah, he was on a yellow card. It was probably an obvious one. Black Sheep says, he doesn't choose on who's playing well, otherwise Marshall would have been dropped for Sanchez, who lost the ball constantly, or Shaw was doing well and dropped as soon as Young was back. Maybe you've got a point on that one. Maybe you've got a point. I don't think it's necessarily always. I think he has certain players who he just decides he's playing all the time. And that's that. Jose needs to stop slamming the players in front of the media. He has no leader in the team. However, I am confident we're going to win the league next season. Wow, that was a bit of a turnaround in that sentence. Where does the rumour come from that Jose says what he does to protect the team or take the heat from the media? I think it's complete bullshit. Well, that got leaked from last week, and I do believe that's what was said. The problem is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Question, what is our style of play? How do we attack, even defend? We don't stretch teams laterally. We can't cross. We have no whip, style or flair. I think that you're over-egging it a little bit. Clearly, we do have some sort of cohesive way to attack. We've got a striker that's chasing down nearly 30 goals. I do think we rely on individual brilliance rather than a systematic way to attack. But that's football. There's no right or wrong way how to do this. Manchester City have a very systematic way to attack, and we beat them. Liverpool have a very systemic way to attack with a lot of freedom in the final third. They can't beat us. So we clearly do have a defensive. I think Mourinho's problem is that he is defensive first. He goes, how do we stop the opposition in every instance? Maybe he didn't do that yesterday. Maybe he thought this was a game, because I certainly did, thought this was a game where Manchester United can turn up and almost just play and beat what West Brom have got to offer. I really do. Jay says, I know we're making progress. We are. It just doesn't feel like it at the moment. We should be above the teams you mentioned, considering we always spend double what any team spend every season. Well, that's not true, is it? And if that's the case, City have outspent us. So we are where we should be on the spend, surely. City outspent Manchester United. Liverpool outspent us in January. They've not done better than us. Liverpool outspent Manchester United through the 90s. Tottenham outspent us through the 80s. I think Liverpool might have outspent us up until about 2010 in the noughties. It doesn't mean anything. And City obviously have outspent everybody. Be honest, Stephen, you'd swap Liverpool seasons with ours. How would I? They're not going to win the Champions League. They haven't beaten us. So why would I swap Liverpool seasons? Why would I want to be below where we are? If we win the FA Cup and they don't win the Champions League, how have they had a better season than us? Shut up, mate. It's all about Jose. Why built up to attacking so lazy? I thought yesterday before the game that United needed patience to break down West Brom because I knew they wouldn't come and attack us. But the team wasn't in the right mindset, at least. It didn't look like it, to go and actually attack and get that game won. Never know what team's going to turn up, and it's going like this for 2 years now. It is better than last year, but you're right, it's not quite there yet. You can't beat Liverpool and taking credit. What? What are you talking about? You can't beat Liverpool. We beat Liverpool. What are you on about, mate? Players now all wrapped up in cotton wool. He needs to make an example out of them. He needs to start showing the players who is the boss. Remember, we are talking about Sanchez. We are talking about Marshall. A lot of sympathy for Marshall for not getting game time. But if he's not willing to sign a contract, where does the sympathy start and end? If he just doesn't want to sound, you know what I mean? Left foot winger. Well, we have some of them, don't we? But they play on the right. We have Alexis at his prime. Let's not waste a once-in-a-lifetime player. It's not a bad shout. Steve, we need a leader on the pitch who can give an ear bashing to those players who are not playing out of their skin. We absolutely like that. We absolutely do. What do I expect in the summer? Barbecues and rain. Will United beat Spurs? I think we will beat Spurs, yeah. And I think Jose's probably going to spend most of this week preparing for that, possibly at the detriment of the game at Bournemouth, because this is a way to win a cup. You need patience to break the wall, yet he puts on attackers. The formation was 3-1-6. Matic, the only option left in midfield. How's he supposed to create with that side? He did what he had to do. You had to throw players in that could go and get us a goal. The players didn't get the goal. There was enough talent on that pitch at the end of the game. Marshall, Rashford, Sanchez, Lukaku. That was enough to go and get a goal. Absolutely. And it couldn't get it. Lingard. Right, we've got fan cams. Let's see what some of the Reds had to say in the rain after the game against West Brom.
Jay, 1 week we beat the top of the table, the other week we lose to the bottom of the table. It sums up United.
It does. I think that's probably our worst performance of the season, really. I mean, we've had some bad ones, Seville, Huddersfield, Newcastle, City here as well, but to lose to the team that are already relegated, basically, is pretty bad, and obviously it gives City the lead, doesn't it? I mean, this league was over anyway.
It happens a lot to us this season. We keep thinking, we come out of the pitch, we come out of the tunnel, we think we're 7-0 up from the first minute, and we just play like that, as if we've already won. It's ridiculous.
Devil, mate. You know, if you look at last Saturday, waste of time now, you know. Do you think some of these players thought they don't have to turn up for that 45 minutes and the Gardens rose up? It proved it today. When they scored, we didn't have a clue.
Guessing you didn't expect that?
Mate, it's just so embarrassing. Like, what was the point in winning last week against City? What was the point?
I think the league was over as soon as City won here, but to go out to give it them like that as well, it's just toothless today. It was really just disappointing all around. We've just got to bounce back now. We've got an FA Cup semi-final coming up. We want to win the FA Cup. We want to finish on a high. We've got to, you know, bounce back from this and rally the troops.
Bring in the youth players and give them a run. Because for me now, season's just, honestly.
It's just like if you want to pay 500 quid for a day trip and you want to see them like on their seesaws, do you know what I mean? On their swings.
I didn't get that.
20 times, Man United.
Like, instead of playing football, like they were on their seesaws, like they're on their swings. We wanted to see like a little bit of ball. That's it.
Was that good enough today?
No, they came out like it was a pre-season friendly. There's nothing to play for now apart from the FA Cup, is there? You don't have to play good in the league to win the FA Cup.
We've come here today and we've picked up the title, give it to Pep and said, congratulations, mate, well done. We've done nothing today in that ground. Pogba was not in the game enough. Every time he picked up the ball, he strolled down the pitch.
I thought Mourinho took a risk taking Pogba off so quickly. I could see he wasn't playing great, but he was always capable of pulling something out of the bag when you need it. And once he's off the pitch, you lose a bit of something.
I've seen a few people tell me they would have rather lost it last week, which just sends me mad because today says more about us than just City in general. I think we just sort of let off the gas a bit and sort of let it happen. We didn't really go for it.
Respect to them. They've come here as usual. Whereas I think we come out thinking it's going to be we're going to win this match. It's not. Every single game in the Premier League is up for grabs.
I thought Matt should have been brought off at half-time for Lingard just to bring a bit of energy in. Sanchez was here all day. I thought he could have been brought off for Rashford.
You're going to cheer me and everyone else up. I'm in a mood. They're in a mood. United have got semi-final next week.
Yeah.
We're not feeling good.
Yeah.
Are we going to beat Spurs?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Positive?
Yeah.
Say it again?
Yeah.
Summed up there, wasn't it? Embarrassment. Jay says, worst performance of the season, and I got to agree, man. I think, was the expectation higher because of what we achieved against City last weekend? Did we just expect to beat them because they're bottom of the league? Honestly, it did feel like the worst performance. It probably wasn't. I think Sevilla was probably worse, but it was not great in the slightest. It's in the nominations for the worst performance of the season for definite. Playing like we've already won was another comment. Yep, I think we massively underestimated the opposition. I think they probably saw it as a chance to get a big one at Old Trafford, but they didn't even play for it, to be honest. They didn't play well. They just lumped it up every now and then, and eventually they caught us on the break. It's one of them, innit? What was the point in winning against City, said Tobias? I got to disagree with that, mate. You always want to win the derby, and stopping them beating us to win the league was well worth doing. We would have never heard the end of it. City beat United to win the league. Yesterday, they just win the league while they're not even doing anything. That's a much better way to silence them, because you know the muppetry, if they'd have won the league last week, they'd have all been on the pitch, they would have all been coming over, goading the United fans, it'd have gone off, it'd have been absolute chaos. It was far better to delay than winning it just for a week. Trust me. Bring in the youth players and see what attitude they have. I think that's an option at the moment. I don't know if Jose will do it, but I think that is an option that he should probably look to. You can buy a lot of good faith from the United fan base if you play youth. Look at the Crystal Palace game end of last season, where we brought in Josh Harrop, we brought in Angel Gomez, Demi Mitchell played. the expectation level goes down and people are just happy to see them young lads, and they really get behind the team in a way that they never really do if it's just a regular starting 11, because everybody wants to see the young players succeed at United. Jose could do himself no harm whatsoever by throwing a couple of those in now. We definitely still have to finish in second to prove the progression, but I think there's a time and a place that you can definitely start bringing in some youngsters, and there's some knocking on the door. Gomez needs more game time once he's over his injury. Tahith Chong, it looks by far and away the best player in under 23s at the moment. Let's give these guys their opportunities. And people, like Adol said, people are saying they'd rather would have lost last week. As I said earlier, no. Just no. Anton in the comments says people are hurt. That's why they're saying that. You always want to beat City. Exactly. Beating City was pointless. Not a trophy, says Mr. ASG. No, it's not a trophy. But you've got to beat your closest rivals, and you've got to stop them winning the league against you, because they absolutely would have took beating us to win the league as a trophy on top of winning the league. The last 20 minutes were embarrassing. Our players seem to run into each other. No visible tactics, no end products. Honestly, they seemed like a lower league side in the United kit. Yeah, I think it goes. Any sort of attacking plan that you've got goes out the window, and you just have to start throwing subs on to chase the game. I don't think United probably thought that was going to be an option at any point during the build-up to the match. We can't afford to watch the same hoofball next season. He must go, says D. It's not being hoofball, is it? What a problem is our plan B definitely is. And we're throwing balls into the box for Lingard and Mata and Sanchez to get on the end of. It's not going to happen. It seemed to be the thing that anytime Fellaini would always come off the bench and he would always throw balls up to Fellaini to try and get something. When you haven't got Fellaini and you're trying to bang balls up to Alexis Sanchez, he needs a step ladder and some pogo sticks to even get his head on the ball. So, no, not at all. 2 titles to 0, good progress. Well, everyone told us last year winning the Europa League and winning the League Cup, it's not a title, is it? We've progressed in the league. The league is our bread and butter. We do want to progress in the league. There can only be one champion at the end of the season. There can still be progress within that for other teams. Stuart told me to sit down and be quiet when I started singing. This club is becoming a disgrace. United taking beating City as if we won some silverware. That's what happened. When did United players start doing this? Well, I don't think that was the case, but people told us that we wasn't going to win. We was going to get turned over. Jose won't play Chong or Gomez because they're wingers and he doesn't play wingers. Gomez isn't a winger, mate. Good luck having to deal with Red Men TV after this. Yeah, just pretend it didn't happen. Worried about future players under Jose like Rashford, Marshall, Chong, Gomez, Greenwood. If they're good enough, they'll play, I think. I think that'll be it. Next season will be Mourinho's final chomp at the cherry. I do think so. I think this summer's going to be gross. If we don't win the FA Cup, I can see this summer being absolute horrible. Mourinho said, I know how to win, but I'm not playing. What does he mean? I don't know, to be honest, because he was a much more successful manager than he ever was as a player. So that's kind of mad. It just don't feel great at the moment, does it? We have got United on YouTube. Here's Raph. Let's see what Raph's got to say this week.
What do you want me to say, man? Horrible performance. We just lost to 20th placed West Brom, who had 21 points, 1 win in their last 31, 1 away win this season. We've just beaten the champions. Now they are the champions. And we just lost at home to championship West Brom. I can't freaking believe it. I honestly can't. This is exactly what happened to Sevilla. We just beat Liverpool. We go and lose to Sevilla. We just beat City. We go and lose to West Brom. We have no width in this team. There's no freaking width in this team. We have inside wingers. Mata, Sanchez, Martial, inside wingers. We have no width. It's freaking horrible. I have nothing else to say.
Raph, I feel your pain, brother. I really do. Just sending your video in. If you'd like to get involved in United on YouTube, the link is in the description below. Just send us an email. Give us 30 seconds or so on what you thought of the game. We want to get as many of you as possible on this video and also get involved in these with the free word reviews across all social media. That was a disgrace. There's no other words for it, is there? Absolute disgrace. We have got the Bournemouth preview coming tomorrow at 12 o'clock, so make sure you get involved in that. And we've also got all of the fan cams and the usual stuff from Bournemouth as well, so make sure to join us for that on Wednesday. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here. Make sure to turn the notifications on because YouTube's being a bit strange at the moment. And we will see you in the next one. Let's hope it's a bit happier, after the semi-final win. Fingers crossed. Laters.